Have you ever felt trapped in a cycle of sin, fighting the same temptations of vanity, pride, and conflict over and over again? You pray, you fight, but it feels like you're wrestling with something deeply embedded in the very fabric of humanity. What if I told you that the Bible itself points to a specific architect of these sins? What if the holiest day in the Old Testament, the Day of Atonement, involved a bizarre ritual where a scapegoat was sent directly to a mysterious entity named Azazel? Yes, you heard that right. A sacrifice on God's holiest day was designated for a being that forbidden texts name as the chief fallen angel who taught humanity the forbidden knowledge of war and vanity. This is not a coincidence. It is a divine clue, a thread that unravels the entire origin of our most persistent struggles. Who is this Azazel? And why would God command a ritual that seems to acknowledge him? The answer to that question is a secret that has been buried for centuries, and understanding it is key to winning the spiritual battle in your own life. Today, we will drag this secret into the light. It's truly shocking how many people watch our videos and are blessed by them, but still haven't subscribed. If you believe that understanding our true spiritual enemy is crucial, take just 1 second to subscribe now and hit the notification bell, because you cannot afford to miss the truths we are about to reveal. Stay until the very end, because what you're about to learn about this demon scapegoat might just change how you view sin forever. Come, my friend, and let us journey back through the mists of time, not as mere observers, but as seekers of a profound and unsettling truth. Picture this. The air is thick with anticipation and the scent of incense. A sacred hush falls over the people of Israel. It is the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, the single most holy day of the entire year. This is a day ordained by God himself, a day of deep spiritual reckoning where the sins of an entire nation are to be wiped clean. The high priest, draped in simple white linen, stands as the sole intermediary between man and God, his every move dictated by divine command. In the heart of the tabernacle, a place so holy it hums with celestial energy, 2 goats are presented. They are nearly identical, chosen for their purity, yet their destinies could not be more different. One is destined for the Lord, a sacrifice of blood and fire to atone for transgression, but the other is for something else entirely. This second goat, this unwitting participant in a divine drama, would become known as the scapegoat, a living vessel for the iniquities of a whole people, and its journey is what cracks open this entire mystery for us. It's a ritual of immense power, but there's a detail, a single name mentioned in the Holy Scriptures of Leviticus 16 that is so jarring, so out of place, that it has puzzled scholars and the faithful for millennia. It points to a story far older and darker than many are prepared to accept, a story involving a notorious fallen angel. Now, lean in closer, because this is where the sacred ritual takes a turn into the shadows. Before the high priest can proceed, he brings forth an urn containing 2 lots. One is inscribed, "For the Lord," a familiar and comforting dedication, but the other bears a name that sends a ripple of unease through the fabric of the holy day. For Azazel. Can you feel the weight of that moment? On the most solemn day of connection with the Almighty, a goat is designated for an entity whose name appears nowhere else in the canonical Bible. Who or what is Azazel? The scriptures don't elaborate, they simply state it as a fact of the ritual. This isn't some minor detail, it is a central pillar of the atonement process. One goat's blood is spilled upon the altar for God, but the other is kept alive, destined for this enigmatic being. You have to ask yourself, why would God command a ritual that seems to honor, or at the very least acknowledge, another entity in this way? It's a theological puzzle box, and for centuries many have simply skimmed over it. But we, my friend, are not here to skim. We are here to understand. This name, Azazel, is a key, a breadcrumb left in the holiest of texts that leads us down a rabbit hole into a world of celestial rebellion and forbidden knowledge. Let's follow this lone creature, the scapegoat, on its final journey. After the lots are cast, the high priest places both of his hands firmly upon the head of the goat designated for Azazel. In this solemn act, he confesses all the wickedness, all the rebellion, and all the sins of the children of Israel, symbolically transferring that immense spiritual weight onto this single animal. Imagine the scene, a nation collectively exhaling its guilt, and this goat, now heavy with transgressions, is turned away from the camp, away from the presence of the Lord. It is led by a designated man not to an altar, but out into the unforgiving wilderness, into a solitary land. The destination is a place of desolation, a landscape of rock and sun-baked earth, a fitting end for a creature bearing so much corruption. For the people, this was a powerful visual of their sins being removed, banished from their midst. But we must ask a deeper question. Was the goat simply being released, or was it being sent to someone? Was it a delivery? This ritual, commanded by God, sends the sins of his chosen people directly into the domain of Azazel, a desolate place that mirrors the spiritual exile of a fallen angel. The symbolism is too powerful to ignore. This is where our journey must take a brave step beyond the familiar pages of your Bible and into the realm of texts some have called dangerous. To truly grasp the identity of Azazel, we must look to ancient writings that were preserved for centuries but ultimately excluded from the final biblical canon. I'm speaking, of course, about the Book of Enoch. Now you see the connection. This incredible text, which was widely known and respected by early Jews and Christians, acts as a sort of prequel to the biblical narrative we know. It pulls back the celestial curtain and tells the story of the Watchers, the angels who first descended to earth. And in the Book of Enoch, Azazel is not just a mysterious name. He is a main character. He is presented as a leader among these divine beings, an archangel of great power who made a conscious choice to defy God. He is named explicitly as the chief fallen angel responsible for teaching humanity the arts of corruption. This isn't just a random demon. This is a specific, powerful entity whose story is intricately detailed, and whose crimes were so severe they warranted a unique and terrible punishment. The forbidden knowledge contained in this book shines a blinding light on the ritual in Leviticus. So, the puzzle is laid out before us, my friend. It's a breathtaking and frankly terrifying spiritual detective story. On one hand, we have the Holy Bible, God's sacred word, describing the Day of Atonement ritual where a scapegoat, laden with the sins of mankind, is sent into the wilderness to a being named Azazel. On the other hand, we have the Book of Enoch, a source of profound forbidden knowledge, which tells us that Azazel was a primary fallen angel, the great corrupter of humanity, who was bound and imprisoned in, you guessed it, the desolate desert. Could it be a coincidence? It seems highly unlikely. The pieces fit together too perfectly. It suggests that the holy ritual wasn't just about getting rid of sin, but about sending that sin back to its original source. It was a yearly reminder, a divine indictment, pinning the blame for humanity's fall squarely on the shoulders of this one entity. But to understand why the sins were sent to him, we must first understand who he was before the fall and what he did to earn such specific and eternal condemnation. So to truly understand the creature in the desert, we have to look back to a time before the fall. Who was this Azazel before he became a name synonymous with damnation? Well, my friend, the Book of Enoch paints a picture not of some low-level dissident, but of a celestial prince, a leader of immense power and prestige among the angelic watchers. You have to understand, he wasn't just a follower who got swept up in a rebellion, he was an architect of it. His fall wasn't born from a moment of weakness or simple lust, as it was for many of the others. No, his motivation was far colder, far more deliberate. It was a calculated malice, a chilling intellectual pride. Azazel looked upon God's fledgling creation, humanity, and saw a fatal flaw, a weakness he could exploit to prove a terrible point. He believed that humanity was inherently unworthy, easily swayed, and he set out to prove it. It was a cosmic wager, and he was all in. This is the tragic heart of this fallen angel's story. He didn't just fall, he chose to leap, dragging as much of creation down with him as he could. This wasn't just about breaking the rules, it was about demonstrating that the rules were wrong from the start, that humanity couldn't handle the light. He became the dark mentor, the whisperer of secrets that mankind was never meant to know. This desire to be the chief corrupter is perhaps why he was ultimately destined to become the ultimate scapegoat, bearing the very sins he introduced. He wasn't just a participant in the fall, he was its mastermind. Now, this begs the question, what exactly were the tools he used? What was this forbidden knowledge that he believed would so easily poison the heart of man? So, with this cold purpose in his heart, what exactly was the curriculum in Azazel's school of corruption? What was this forbidden knowledge that he was so confident would unravel mankind? Well, my friend, the Book of Enoch is shockingly specific about his methods. It was a brilliant two-pronged attack aimed squarely at the heart of the human condition. First, he approached the men, and he didn't just whisper ideas, he gave them practical, world-altering skills. He taught them the secrets of metallurgy, the art of pulling metals from the earth and shaping them. But he didn't show them how to make plows and building tools. No, he taught them how to forge swords, how to sharpen the tips of spears, and how to craft shields and breastplates. He single-handedly introduced the art of warfare to the world. Before this fallen angel shared his secrets, conflict was primitive. After him, it became organized, deadly, and efficient. But his plan was more devious than just teaching violence. While the men were learning to kill, Azazel went to the women and taught them the arts of seduction and vanity. He revealed how to make cosmetics, how to use coal to darken their eyes and create illusion, how to craft jewelry from precious metals that would adorn the body but starve the soul. This wasn't about celebrating beauty. It was about manufacturing deception. It was about teaching humanity to value the external shell over the internal spirit, to desire and to deceive. So, you see, he created a world of violence fueled by vanity, a perfect storm of sin. This was the specific forbidden knowledge that would eventually be heaped upon the scapegoat, a direct consequence of the lessons taught by this master manipulator. So, Azazel planted his seeds of war and vanity, and the harvest, my friend, was swift and terrifying. The world quickly became a distorted mirror of this fallen angel's own corrupted heart. Imagine a world where the beautiful forbidden knowledge he offered was embraced with open arms. The clang of newly forged swords, a sound he had introduced, became the world's new ugly heartbeat. Fields that were meant to grow wheat for bread were instead soaked in blood, as men now had the means and the motive for organized slaughter. Brother turned against brother, not with fists but with sharpened steel. War, once a rare skirmish, became the common language of men, all thanks to the dark gifts from their celestial teacher. And the social fabric? It dissolved, just as quickly. The vanity he taught wasn't just skin deep, it poisoned the very well of human trust. Truth became a rare commodity, easily bartered away for a moment of pleasure or a flattering lie. Sacred vows were broken as promiscuity and deception, fueled by the new arts of adornment and seduction, fractured families and communities. This wasn't a slow, natural decay. It was a wildfire of sin, sparked by a single, malicious source. The Book of Enoch tells us this is the world that cried out to heaven for rescue, a world drowning in the very sins that would later be symbolically piled onto the scapegoat. The earth itself groaned under the weight of the violence and debauchery that Azazel had unleashed. When creation begins to scream like that, heaven is forced to listen and to act. When the cries of a corrupted earth finally reached the throne of glory, the response was not a broad, sweeping judgment against all. No, my friend, heaven's wrath was precise, like a divine scalpel aimed at the heart of the infection. The Book of Enoch tells us that while the other fallen angels faced a collective punishment, God singled out Azazel for a unique and terrible fate. This wasn't just any angel being sent to carry out the sentence. The order was given to the archangel Raphael, the divine healer, in a moment of profound cosmic irony. The healer was being sent to imprison the source of the world's sickness. The command, as recorded in Enoch chapter 10, is chillingly specific. God tells Raphael, "Bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him into the darkness." But it's the justification for this order that reveals everything. The text continues, "And ascribe to him all sin." Think about that. Heaven itself officially designated this one fallen angel as the origin point of the corruption, the architect responsible for the forbidden knowledge that had poisoned humanity. All the violence, all the vanity, all the deception, the blame was laid squarely at his feet. This divine decree makes him the ultimate scapegoat long before the ritual in Leviticus was ever conceived. He was identified as the fountainhead of evil, the one who bore the guilt for the entire affair. The judgment was not just for his rebellion, but for his success in teaching that rebellion to others. The sentence was passed, but its execution was a scene of cosmic horror, meticulously described in the Book of Enoch. Raphael, the healer, found Azazel and bound him, hand and foot. Imagine the struggle, a being of immense power being subdued and prepared for a fate worse than death. He wasn't simply cast out of heaven. He was dragged to a specific, desolate place on earth named Dudael. The name itself breathes desolation. There, in the heart of a barren desert, was a gaping hole in the ground, an open wound in the earth. And Raphael cast the bound fallen angel into this pit. But this was no simple imprisonment. My friend, this was a live burial. The text says, Raphael placed upon him rough and jagged rocks, piling them high until Azazel was completely covered, entombed within the earth. He sealed the prison and left him in total and absolute darkness, a being who once walked in celestial light, now unable to perceive a single ray. He was condemned to solitary confinement, with the crushing weight of the stones, a constant physical reminder of the weight of the sins he introduced to the world through his forbidden knowledge. Does that imagery sound familiar? A being burdened with sin, cast away into the wilderness. The prison of Azazel is the terrifyingly literal origin of the scapegoat journey, and there he waits, alone in the dark. But his influence, as we are about to see, was far from over. Now let's leave that fallen angel bound in his dark, rocky prison for a moment and travel forward in time back to the Holy Tabernacle. We return to the scene from Leviticus 16, but now we carry the forbidden knowledge from the Book of Enoch with us. And with these new eyes, the entire ritual of the Day of Atonement snaps into a sharp, shocking focus. Remember the two goats? One is for the Lord, a holy sacrifice. The other, the scapegoat, is designated for Azazel. The high priest lays his hands on this goat, confessing the sins of the nation, the violence, the vanity, the deceptions, and then it is sent away. Not just anywhere, but specifically into the wilderness, the desolate desert. Do you see the staggering connection, my friend? The Bible commands that the sins of humanity, the very sins that Azazel taught them, be carried by a scapegoat into the exact same type of environment where the Book of Enoch says he is imprisoned. It transforms the ritual from a simple banishment of sin into a powerful act of return to sender. It's as if God was instructing his people to perform a yearly spiritual transaction. Take this corruption that you have embraced and deliver it back to its author. Let Azazel be confronted with the harvest of the seeds he planted. The goat for the Lord is slain, its life given for atonement, but the goat for Azazel is sent alive, perhaps because the entity it is sent to is also still alive, trapped and waiting in that same wilderness. This incredible parallel forms a bridge between the two texts, but it also presents a puzzle with several possible answers. So, with this astonishing link between the ritual and the prison laid bare, we are faced with the ultimate question. What precisely is Azazel in the context of Leviticus? Scholars and seekers have wrestled with this for centuries, and their thoughts generally lead us down three distinct paths. The first, and perhaps most electrifying interpretation, is that the scapegoat was a literal delivery to a demonic entity. This view accepts the Book of Enoch's narrative as the key to unlocking the puzzle. The goat, bearing the sins born from the forbidden knowledge, was sent as a direct, yearly taunt to the imprisoned fallen angel responsible for it all, a divine reminder of his failure and ultimate judgment. The second path offers a more geographical solution. Some ancient rabbinic interpreters argued that Azazel was not the name of a being, but the name of a place. They pictured a specific, rugged cliff in the desolate wilderness, a cliff of removal from which the scapegoat was pushed to its death, ensuring the sins were shattered and utterly destroyed, removed from the people permanently. In this view, the name describes a location, not a personality, turning the ritual into a powerful physical metaphor rather than an interaction with a supernatural entity. It's a tidy explanation, but it feels like it might miss the deeper, more personal drama of the story. Then there is the third path, one of pure, potent symbolism. This interpretation suggests that the ritual was even more profound. In this view, the scapegoat itself becomes a living symbol of Azazel. As the priest lays the sins upon the goat, he is symbolically pinning them back onto the original fallen angel. The goat, now embodying the source of corruption, is driven out of the community, a powerful act of spiritual cleansing that banishes the influence of the great corrupter. It's not being sent to Azazel, it is Azazel in effigy. Each of these views has its own weight, my friend, its own spiritual logic. Whether a demon, a place, or a symbol, the target of this ritual remains the same, the original source of our fall. But regardless of how we interpret his role in the ritual, one final question remains about his personal story. What is his ultimate end? No matter which interpretation we lean toward, my friend, the personal story of Azazel has a definitive and fiery conclusion. His time spent bound in darkness under a pile of rocks is not an eternal punishment. It is merely a holding cell. The Book of Enoch is as clear about his final destiny as it was about his initial crimes. It prophesies that on the great day of judgment, when all accounts are settled, the earth will be commanded to give back those it holds in trust. The prison of Dudael will be opened, and Azazel will be dragged from his pit, blinking after millennia of darkness, not for a new trial, but for his final sentencing. His guilt has already been determined. Heaven itself proclaimed, "To him ascribe all sin," and the punishment for the one who taught forbidden knowledge and corrupted the world is absolute. The prophecy states that this great fallen angel will be cast into the fire. It's a moment of perfect, terrible justice. The being who taught men to pull metal from the earth and forge it in fire for war will himself be unmade by an eternal, purifying flame. This is the ultimate end of the scapegoat's journey. The ritual in the desert was a yearly symbol, but this is the final reality. The ultimate source of sin is judged and removed from creation forever, ensuring that the divine order is finally and completely restored. His story ends in fire, but the legacy of his teachings is another matter entirely. And so, the arc of Azazel reaches its fiery, definitive end. Divine justice is served, and the original corrupter is removed from creation. A story from the ancient past, a puzzle solved. But let me ask you a question, my friend, and I want you to truly reflect on it. Is the story really over? Look at the world around you right now, in this very moment. What are the great sins that drive our modern culture, that fill our news feeds, that cause such deep division and pain? Is it not the obsession with conflict, power, and ever more sophisticated weapons? Is it not the obsession with image, with external beauty, with vanity and the deception it brings? The two pillars of forbidden knowledge, taught by this fallen angel, war and vanity, are arguably more powerful today than they have ever been. It seems we are still living in the world he helped to create, still wrestling with the very temptations he unleashed. The Book of Enoch was not just telling a story, it was delivering a timeless warning. The need to identify the source of our sin, to confess it, and to banish it from our community, just as they did with the scapegoat, is a spiritual practice that is as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. If this journey into a deep and often overlooked corner of Scripture has stirred your spirit and given you a new perspective, I invite you to continue on this path with us. Help others find this knowledge by giving this video a like. And more importantly, subscribe to our channel and make sure you click that notification bell. There are so many more truths to uncover together, and you won't want to miss what is coming next.